Welcome back, football fans. Today, I want to talk about what I think is our biggest need in the draft, the most impactful position we can address. And I think that's the linebacker position. Now, this league used to run to set up the pass, but now it's a passing first league. And with that, everybody's playing a bunch of nickel to try to counter that. And I think that's led to undervaluing the linebacker position. And the teams and the league's kind of looking for a different kind of linebacker now. Smaller, rangier guys that can run around the field. I think they're kind of glorified safeties in most cases. Now, with everything, though, there's a cause and effect. And with these smaller guys, you kind of lose, some of the traditional strengths of a linebacker. And you got more teams now that are passing to set up the run. And with losing those traditional linebacker strengths, you're losing the block shedding and you're losing the run stopping abilities and the blitzing capabilities that you used to have a linebacker. But in this draft, there are some guys that have a blend of the traditional old school linebacker size with that modern skill set that the league's clamoring for. There's also some raw athletic freaks, and then guys that kind of toe the line in between. And I want to take a look at those guys, possible targets for us in the draft, and it's going to be a lot of fun. I mean, this is honestly my favorite position group in all of football, so it's been really sad for me to see it kind of undervalued in years. But it's not just nostalgia that has me gripping to this need. I really think it's the position that will make the difference in this team being great or this team just having a great defensive line. I mean, if you look at this year's past Super Bowl, Devin White and oh man, I'm blanking on his name. But the linebacker group, Levante David, they made a huge difference in the game. And if they didn't have such talented linebackers, it might have been different. I mean, with how injured Pat's offensive line was, it probably wouldn't have mattered. But they made big plays. It seemed like every tackle was made by Devin White, and every pass defense was made by Levante David. It was crazy. But I want to look at some guys here that will be perfect fits for our team. And yeah, let's check them out. I mean, also, before we get started, just on top of the need, just to get a little petty, I know that Ron and Jack are defensive mavericks. You know, they know how to make the modern defense, but as former linebackers, these guys had to be embarrassed looking at the linebacker group we put out there. And wow, I mean, it seems to have showed. I mean, Ron's been blowing up, the number one player that I'm going to talk about here up to 8 times so far in this lead up to the draft. So I think they understand the need that we have for linebacker, and like I said, as former linebackers, these guys were really looking at the team and going, man, this is just embarrassing. We have to take care of this. So, without further ado, once again, let's get into the linebackers. Okay, we're going to kick it off with my favorite player in the draft. This is a guy that I think fits our need at linebacker perfectly, and I think he's a special player. That's Zack Collins from Tulsa. This guy, 6'5", 260 pounds, 4'6", 40, 35-inch vert. He had a 8.73 relative athletic score. JOK only had a 8.71, okay? and he's only 6 foot tall and 212 pounds. Zaven had a 91 overall PFF grade as a linebacker. He had a 90.6 grade as a pass rusher and a 93.7 grade in coverage. You just don't see 4-3 linebackers this size anymore. And that's because they usually don't work well in space, but that's what Zaven does the best. He has amazing instincts and an ability to read quarterbacks. That's because he was a quarterback. It lets him know where the ball's going to be. He meets it there. And when he gets there, he has all the burst and flexibility to easily change direction and drive on the ball or the ball carrier. Then he uses his great hands and his insane length to capitalize and make plays. Now he's got hips and a back pedal that a lot of cornerbacks or DBs in the league would be like, man, I'd love to have hips that smooth. He's just freakish in that area. All that combines with his great speed for his size to give him insane coverage ability. Now that alone would fill our need at linebacker perfectly. But on top of that, his size, strength, and burst, he does the traditional linebacker things very well too. He sheds blocks and shoots through gaps to pass rush. He reads plays well and reacts to stop running backs in the backfield. Everybody is throwing around the term generational talent talking about Micah Parsons. But you see guys like Micah Parsons every 2 or 3 years. Like there's constantly guys like that. When is the last time you saw a player like Zack Collins? If ever. When have we ever seen a guy that big that specializes in coverage? That's that smooth, that intelligent. He is the special generational talent, in my opinion, in this draft. And he hasn't even fully reached his full potential as a pass rusher. This is just focusing on his insane abilities in coverage. You can throw a rock and hit downhill thumpers his size, or even pass rushers that big. There's some guys his size that can patrol sideline to sideline and tackle tight ends after they've made the catch, but Zaven has the ability to stick to them and defend the passes and even make plays on the ball. My only slight knock on him is he lacks a little physicality at times. I like to see my linebackers play with a little more malice. But it's because he plays with such speed and finesse that he doesn't need to. Now there are plays of him definitely imposing himself on people. But, you don't see that all the time. He's normally just a finesse and speed guy. But I think Ron and Jack can definitely unlock that in him. Now, Chaz Surratt's getting all this attention for being a quarterback turned linebacker. But Zaven, that's what Zaven was. I think that's what's translated him in them having this great playmaking ability and coverage. It's their ability to read the quarterbacks. And it kind of makes him special. Zaven far more so, in my opinion. But the next guy I would love for us to target, he's not getting as much press about it, but he was a high school quarterback too. This guy, he knows how to read the quarterback. He knows how to be where the ball is going to be. So here comes my next guy. Our number 2 target, I think, should be Jabril Cox, LSU. It's kind of embarrassing to say, but I love Cox. Jabril Cox. 6'3", 233 pounds. Best coverage linebacker in the draft. He's got 216 tackles, 122 assists, 15 sacks, 1 forced fumble, 23 pass defenses, and 9 interceptions. Crazy numbers. Like, that's nuts. 23 pass defenses at linebacker. Cornerbacks don't have that many pass defenses. That's crazy. PFF had him as a 83.5 in 2020, but I think he's far better than that in pass coverage. You could argue that some of the numbers are inflated from playing at North Dakota, but he didn't miss a beat going over to LSU. He's another great reader of the quarterback because he was a quarterback. He's got all the instincts and athleticism to react and make plays on the ball. He's got outstanding range and closing bursts. He gets deep in his drops and he has good hips and back pedal. He has top tier change of direction and agility. He's a great athlete. Now, you want your linebacker to be tough, and this guy's tough. He's played through injuries. And aside from all the coverage stuff and the toughness, this is a guy that in the run game, he can explode through blocks and just blow up the run play. He can shed blocks to make plays on the ball carrier. He's got pass rushing upside with his speed and agility. He's not going to shed left tackles like Collins, but his agility and speed give him a definite impact in pass rush. I mean, you saw he's got the sack numbers at 15 sacks. That's pretty good from an off-ball linebacker. Now, this guy would be a huge upgrade to our linebacking core. He comes in day one. He takes the job of any linebacker I think we have on the roster easily. If we miss out on Zaven in the first round, which would be a tragedy, but if we do, at 51, Jabril would be an amazing pick. In a perfect world, in my opinion, we go linebacker 1 and 2 just to take care of it, get it out of the way. But even if we don't, and we're there at 51, we have to take him. Now, if we take Zaven at 1, and then at 72, Jabril's still there, because I have a late 2, early 3 grade on him. If he's still there in the third, you got to run the card up. Like, this is our guy. You got to go after him if he's still there in the third. But yeah, perfect LB2, best coverage guy, which is what we need. Coverage at the linebacker position. Now, my third linebacker is Baron Browning from Ohio State. He's 6'3", 245 pounds. He ran a 4.51 40, but he's got a higher relative athletic score than Jamin Davis. He had a 9.98 RAS score, while Davis had a 9.93. And I mean, those are both ahead of generational talent Micah Parsons, who had a 9.59. But, you know, relative athletics, it factors in your size, and then, you know, he had more reps on the bench. Like, he was just more complete athlete. So, as far as production, he had 102 tackles, 42 assists, 3 pass defenses, 6 sacks, and 1 forced fumble. It's kind of, there's like it's a crowded linebacker group at Ohio State. But at first, like, I'll admit, like, watching his tape, I was more impressed with Justin Hilliard's range and playmaking ability, and then Pete Werner, like, his pop and power on hits and tackles. So I kind of wrote Browning off a bit. Man, was I wrong. The more I watched, the more impressed I was. And I've kind of made it known I'm a fan of actually having 3 linebackers and playing 3-4 and not being a nickel guy. But if we're going to go nickel and we're only going to have 2 linebackers on the field, then you take Zaven Collins in the first round, and you come back in the third and you snatch up Baron Browning. because they pair the best and give you the best possible combination of traditional linebacker ability with the modern athletic coverage linebacker that you need. Now, these would be perfect guys paired next to each other. Now, Browning has more of a classic technical linebacker coverage. Like, he doesn't have the crazy special instincts and abilities that Zaven has, but he's got high-end athleticism and agility that lets him be good in coverage. I mean, he's clearly behind Zaven's in size and like the overall instinct ability of coverage, but he is still a big, strong athlete, and he's got a little more speed. If you watch the Penn State game, you saw him cover Pat Freiermuth on a back corner route in the end zone and deflect it. And Freiermuth, in my opinion, is he's got top tier NFL tight end written all over him. Kyle Pitts is special, so he's getting all the press. But if you're looking for the prototypical perfect NFL tight end, Freiermuth is the guy. And if you could defend against that, then you can defend against NFL guys, because most of them aren't going to be Pat Freiermuth. They don't call the guy Baby Gronk for nothing. I mean, if you can shut him down or at least defend against him, you're in good shape. Now, Barron gets knocks for his lack of instincts, and people say he's a better athlete than a linebacker. And even more people are saying, hey, you know, this guy's a pass rusher on the next level. I don't think so. This guy's got way more speed and instincts than he's given credit for. I think every single part of his game is better than what Jamin Davis does. And Jamin Davis is getting all this first round buzz because of his athletic profile. But Barron's bigger and he's stronger and he's a better athlete overall. Sure, he doesn't have that crazy 40 time, but he's a better athlete. I think Barron has better instincts than him too. He's another guy that gives you that old school size with modern athleticism and coverage abilities. I got him graded as an early third rounder, and like I said before, if we're gonna play nickel, we're only gonna have two guys out there. I want it to be Zack Collins and Baron Browning. Okay, we're to my last spotlight linebacker before I get on to the lightning rounds. This is my last first or second round guy. I got a first round grade on him. He probably goes late first, early second, and that's Nick Bolton from Mizzou. Now at 6'1", 237 pounds, I think he's kind of more the modern type of linebacker. But honestly, this guy does it all. He's got 217 tackles, 82 assists, 13 pass defenses, 4 sacks, and 2 interceptions. He had a 4.6 40, 32-inch vert, do-it-all linebacker. This guy has the best in-class instincts, played rec, and just overall understanding of the position and understanding of what the offense is doing. And I really like that he plays with a mean streak. I've already told you I like my linebackers to play with a bit of malice, and he does. Sometimes he plays like he hates the other guy, and I like to see that. He gets some knocks for his size and his athleticism, but constant motor guy. Like, he's constantly running, and he's smooth. He's got a smooth change of direction, and he's got crazy awareness that leads to him constantly making plays. And if he's not making plays, he's in on the plays. This guy's constantly zooming around the field. Now, for a long time, Washington football teams have argued, hey, look at the stats. London Fletcher, Ray Lewis, pretty close. Can we get some praise for my boy, you know, this guy, Bolton, he's got London Fletcher written all over him. Like, watch him play, and I'm like, damn, that reminds me of London Fletcher. But then he's got that little bit of nastiness that Ray Lewis had mixed in with that. Like, Nick Bolton is a hitter. Now, you hear me say all that, and I'm comparing him to all-time Washington great London Fletcher, and you're like, man, like, why aren't you higher on this guy? And, I'm higher on this guy than I am JOK. Everybody thinks JOK is, the best thing since sliced bread, when I just think, he'll be a pretty good box safety. I think that Bolton is built better to play linebacker at the next level. And honestly, he's my fourth or fifth favorite linebacker in the draft. But because of like his projection, like Zack Collins is definitely my first round linebacker, and that's where he's going to go. So we really don't have a chance to get Bolton unless we don't get Zaven. So that's why I have him kind of back farther. And if it gets to the first round and all the quarterbacks are gone and Zaven's gone and Darisol's gone, then I am all for taking Nick Bolton at 19. But otherwise, I just think Jabril and Barron kind of fit our needs better. So, I love Nick Bolton. He's a great player. He's going to be a great player. But, yeah, this is kind of where I have him. Jeez, these are supposed to be the lightning rounds. I got to speed it up here a bit. But, on to the other Ohio State linebackers. So, all of Ohio's linebackers are super talented. Even Tough Borland, that was just woefully unathletic, he's still got that all-pro mindset. But Pete Werner, at 6'3", 243 pounds, he had shocking athleticism, really, when you looked at his pro day. He was had a 4.5 240, a 39.5-inch vert, a 10.2 broad. This guy's stats kind of put Baron Browning's to shame, but I mean, that's as like a downhill thumper with some pass rush upside. He doesn't really have like the overall special ability that Browning has, but he had 168 tackles, 66 assists, 10 pass defenses, and 4 sacks and 3 forced fumbles. And my biggest the best thing about Pete, I think, is he hits with some pop. Like, I like that. Like I've said, malice in linebacker position. This guy hits with some pop, way more athletic than I thought. And he never looks lost or out of place at anything they have him doing on the field. I mean, he's got less overall upside than Barron, but honestly, if we had to go with Werner, I really think he's a clear upgrade over John Bostic and possibly even Holcomb. Like, this guy could be an upgrade over Holcomb. So, I mean, he wouldn't be a bad pick in the mid to late third round or after. And then Justin Hilliard, like, this guy was the first Ohio guy that, like, watching tape, I was like, wow. But at 6'1", 231 pounds, definitely, he's the modern kind of linebacker, the rangy, all over the field kind of guy. He had 68 tackles, 25 assists, 3 pass defenses, 1 forced fumble, and 2 interceptions. Like, this guy balled out at this Senior Bowl, too. Like, he's a great player, a great athlete. He's great against the run. He's great in coverage. But huge injury red flags. Huge concern. 6 years at Ohio. This guy's like Van Wilder. Like, he's been in school forever. 6 years at Ohio. Only 494 snaps. Now, that's high risk. Like, he could be great. He'd be a great pick, like, late. Like, I'm talking 6th, 7th round late. We don't even have a 6th rounder. But I've got a 6th round grade on because of those concerns. I wouldn't draft him before any of these other players I've mentioned or that I'm going to mention. But at the end of the 7th round, if he's there, or, I mean, as an undrafted free agent, like, I'd give him a call just because his upside. Like, when he is on the field, he's talented. Like, he's definitely got skills. He's a talented player. Now we're going to take a break from the linebacker position to bring you my super sleeper safeties. Okay, so there's some safeties in this class that I think are the perfect will linebacker conversion. These are guys that I think give you a far better value than JOK. At the very worst, they do exactly what JOK does, but at a far greater value. First off, we've got Jacoby Stevens from LSU. He's 6'2", 230 pounds. He had 190 tackles, 88 assists, 15 passes defensed, 9.5 sacks, 1 forced fumble, and 4 interceptions. And some of those interceptions were special. He had a 4.5 40, a 42-inch vert, and a 10-10 broad. 42-inch vert, 10-10 broad. That's crazy. Now, if you adjust for his play weight, he had a 9.88 RAS score at his playing weight, which is crazy. It didn't look as good at the combine, or at the pro day, because he came in lighter, trying to prove that he could play free safety. But at his normal playing weight, at 230, it's far more impressive. Now, like I said, great candidate at will linebacker. If you look at JOK, like his whole playing style, this guy is bigger, a better athlete, and he has better coverage. He's got 4-inch higher vert, 6-inch longer broad. Now, you could take JOK at 19 and possibly, on the downside, just end up with a good box safety. Or you could come anywhere between the 4th and the 6th round and grab Jacoby Stevens, who has more potential upside, at least as an athlete. He's only been playing defense for 2.5 years. This guy was a 5-star recruit to LSU as a wide receiver. Top 25 in the country. That's special athleticism. I mean, LSU is wide receiver university. They only get the best of the best, athlete-wise. He got there, they're like, hey, you want to try safety? He's like, sure. And that's led to him having very special ball skills. He had offers from all kinds of other schools. I think that this gives you it's another chance of, like, players that have, both these guys give you something that, like, players that have offensive experience that really helps them out on defense. Now, these guys can run routes with the wide receivers or the tight ends in the slot. These guys know what the offensive playmakers are going to be doing, and they can counteract that. And that just gives them a tremendous upside. And kind of the same deal as Jacoby, you got Divine Diablo, which I think is the best name in sports. Same thing, wide receiver, turn safety, that would make a great will linebacker. He's 6'3", 228 pounds. He had 205 tackles, 88 assists, 11 pass defenses, 3 forced fumbles, and 6 interceptions. Like, this guy has great awareness on the field. That's what leads to some of these interceptions. And then he's got the ball skills. These, like, crazy wide receiver ball skills. Imagine that at linebacker, just snatching. Like, that's what you need that close up, is to be able to make a hands catch and snatch the ball out of the air at the linebacker level. Great awareness. Good open field tackler. And he can work through the clutter at the line. You see him working down, and that'll translate to linebacker. Him him kind of working around, down the line, like scraping. He's a plus athleticism guy, like big time athlete, like high end wide receiver athleticism. And he reads the quarterback and takes away their targets. He if the quarterback kind of stares this guy down, it helps Divine get there and like, oh, I'm gonna take him away. And he understands wide receiver routes, and it helps him. These guys coming out in the slot and everything. He's going to be able to stick to them. They're not going to be able to pick play him or anything like that. Like, he's going to know how the route's supposed to be run. And he's got insane instincts to go along with that. So the insane instincts, the insane ball skills, and just the ability to match up with the tight ends at 6'3", 228 pounds. I mean, this guy makes plays, and it might be a bit to project him at linebacker, but he's been a fast learner at safety after switching over from wide receiver, and it's not as big a step now that he's got safety down to go to linebacker. He's a late third to fifth round pick, and like I said with Jacoby, when you're looking at JOK as a first rounder or these guys like third on, like the value is just there for these guys. Like the potential upside is, in my opinion, like you can't deny it. Like the potential upside with these guys is there, and why not take a special freak like Zack Collins when you can get kind of a similar player to JOK later? Like you had Isaiah Simmons in the last draft, and he was supposed to be, that kind of player. I mean, he's like 40 pounds heavier than JOK, but he was supposed to be that kind of player. And then you had Jeremy Chin taken at the end of the second that comes out and does everything he was supposed to do better. I think this is a similar situation. Well, it can be a similar situation. JOK gets all the praise, and then these two large safeties later on come in, and they're the better ball players. So these are two of my favorite possible targets. Okay, we're to my mid round, guys. I want to start it off with somebody that's just not getting the proper love. Monty Rice from Georgia, 6'1", 238. He's, that modern linebacker, but I think he has some serious upside. He had 219 tackles, 104 assists, 4 pass defenses, 2 sacks, 3 forced fumbles. He didn't have any picks, but man, this guy, in my opinion, has great speed, great angles, and great pursuit. He's got good instincts. He makes quick reads and reacts to them. He's got good coverage ability. He's not a guy that's going to fight through any blocks, but he has the instincts and awareness to find clean paths and burst through them to make a play in the backfield or in as a pass rusher. Like, I think this guy could really thrive on our team playing behind our D line. We just use his speed to cover and roam the middle of the field and help us eat up all those pressure beaters. Like, we have like those pressure beaters this year. Like, teams are gonna like really look at beating our pass rush. Those pressure beaters are gonna be all in our face. So, like, he can also read and react to run plays. He can close in and shut them down. Like, this guy, in my opinion, has a bunch of potential. Like, Monty Rice is a hell of an athlete. I got him as a mid-third rounder to fourth rounder. If a lot of my other targets are gone, definitely look at this guy. Like, I'd look at him over the other Ohio guys, too. And then I got Tony Fields by way of West Virginia from Arizona State, I believe. He's 6'1", 220 pounds. He had 375 tackles. That's pretty good. He had 160 assists. That's also pretty good. He had 6 pass defenses, 9.5 sacks, 1 forced fumble, and 3 interceptions. He's got all the speed to have great coverage potential. Like, this guy's constantly moving around back there. He's got great coverage potential. And he's got great sideline to sideline speed. He's got great change of direction speed. He's disciplined. He makes quick reads and reacts to them. He takes the right angle. Now, he's going to have to get stronger, like, at the NFL level, because, like, he's not as strong at the tackling point, but he makes up for it by kind of throwing his body into it. But NFL strength and conditioning coaches, they're going to take care of that. I've actually heard some pretty reputable evaluators refer to this guy as a later round JOK. I know I'm gassing up safeties over here, like that I personally feel like compared to him. But some pretty reputable guys have said, if you're into JOK and you miss him in the first, look at this guy late, because he's got a lot of those traits and he's got some serious upside. I mean, I know if you haven't noticed, I'm pretty low on JOK, but it's mainly from a value standpoint. I just don't think the value's there in the first round. But if you can get that kind of skill mid to late, then I definitely think it's worth a pick. And like I said, he's gotten the comparison to him. So, I mean, this could be your guy between the 4th and 6th where I have him graded. And then next up, we got Garrett Wallow from TCU. He looks the part. Like, this guy looks the part. He's 6'2", 230. Great production. He had 295 tackles, 118 assists, 4 pass defenses, 9.5 sacks, 3 forced fumbles, and 1 interception. Always in the play, always around the ball. He plays with good speed. He takes good angles. He's got a high motor. He's good at reading the play and getting to the right spot. He's a good tackler. He's got great speed and awareness, like perfect speed awareness to make plays in coverage. Like, this guy is kind of a really good late round or mid-round gem there. Like, he finishes out this group for me at like the mid-rounders. 5 through 6 is a little late. Maybe he's a 4 through 5 guy, but I think he's got some definite upside. Okay, I'm into my late round guys, possible undrafted, but I mean, I think all of them kind of have a shot to get drafted. I'm going to start out with a guy that, I mean, he's just said no to nature. Like, nature, like, physically has been like, nah, man, this ain't for you. And that's Patty Fisher. I mean, he's got all the size at 6'3", 240 pounds. But this guy's a sleeper. I mean, first, let's listen to his profile and his stats. At 6'3", 240 pounds, 33-inch arms, let's keep that under wraps. He's got 389 tackles, 181 assists, 10 pass defenses, 2 sacks, 10 forced fumbles, and 4 interceptions. Man, this is a first-round talent, right? Well, not necessarily. This guy's a sleeper because he kind of lacks athleticism. He's got a 4.8 40. Okay. But this is a guy that has every single trait that you look for in a linebacker outside of sideline to sideline speed. That just happens to be a very important trait. But Patty Fisher, he does everything well, like perfectly. I mean, perfect. Honestly, he's good. Like, He reads offenses and reacts quick. He shoots through gaps. He always takes the right angle. He understands the perfect place in zone coverage to be in. He's got great size and length. He's a fast processor, and he's had the intelligence to overcome his lack of athleticism. He's super high effort and high intelligence. The athleticism, though, has been his biggest knock. He doesn't have smooth hips. He doesn't have fast speed. But I think Ron and Jack could possibly look at this guy, and I mean, look at his production alone and be like, hey, okay, athleticism or not, this is a guy that finds a way to get it done. Can he get it done at the next level? Well, if he goes undrafted, I think Ron or Jack give this guy a call and see. They're like, man, you know what? Let's see if this guy can do it. And then next up, you got Isaiah McDuffie from Boston College. He's Boston University, Boston College, I don't know. Gold helmet, red jersey. You got Isaiah McDuffie, 6'1", 224. He's like kind of that modern type linebacker. He had 231 tackles, 104 assists, 3 pass defenses, 8.5 sacks, 1 interception. He's got a great work ethic. He's got a high motor. He's got good speed. He's got really good awareness and play recognition. He hasn't excelled in coverage, but he's got all the tools to. Like, I really feel like he could advance in that department. He's got relentless pursuit. Like, he's a constant worker. He can shed guards, and I think he does everything that John Bostic does better. Like, he's like a younger, faster, more athletic John Bostic. Like, if you look, because John Bostic kind of does everything right, he just kind of doesn't have the athleticism. He's nothing special. This guy's just slightly better and younger. So, I mean, at 6th round to undrafted, Isaiah McDuffie could definitely be an upgrade. And then my last guy, like, I'm super late on this guy. I like caught him on YouTube, like he did a special for himself, like leading up to the Senior Bowl or something. It's Grant Stewart. Now this guy, he had a rough upbringing. His dad was in prison. His mom was a prostitute that was addicted to drugs. And he overcame all that with a strong religious belief and a passion for football. Now, he's a little undersized, and he might not have top-end speed. But watching this guy play, he has an insane explosion. Like, there are some plays where he'll cover, like, a 5-yard space, like, in the blink of an eye. Like, he's got film where I like take it back and watch it over and over again. He's got this crazy explosion. For a guy that doesn't have insane top end speed, like, it's nuts to see. He's undersized at 5'11", 225, but like, just to see his explosion, it kind of like, it's like, it wows you. And then he's got an insane motor. Like, he's constantly working, constantly looking for things to do, constantly trying to stick his nose in it. He closes the distance in it, like I said, with his explosion. It's in a special way. He's displayed some coverage abilities, even though he's lacking in his speed. And this guy, especially, he showed out the Senior Bowl. Like, this guy has some big time special teams potential, and he's a plus effort guy on every snap, and he's fun to watch. I think he'd be a great addition to the team. And he's kind of a Ron's guy. Like, that's the kind of guy Ron looks for. You know, you had freaking Jared Norris on his team for like 4 years. Like, that guy's nowhere near the athlete and the upside that Grant has. So, I mean, this could be a guy that we get undrafted, and he makes a difference for us in a big way. Okay, if you've been paying attention along the way here, you might have picked up on the fact that I'm a little lower on some high praise guys than most. So I'm going to start out here by talking about Jamin Davis. Like, he has all the physical tools, but I think he lacks discipline and he needs technical development. Now, he's got great size and athleticism, but watching his tape, I've always had him as a third round grade, and some numbers on a stopwatch aren't going to change my mind on that. And as far as unofficial pro days go, no offense to Kentucky, but I put more stock into like a OSU, a LSU, Alabama, place where there are more eyes on it. But regardless of his athleticism, his inconsistency on tape scares me. I'm going to keep him at a third round grade. So if he's there in a third, yeah, I'll take him. But anywhere earlier, I'm going to have to pass on that. In JOK, like if you've noticed, I kind of beat up on him a little bit in this video. But it's not from him being a player, his playing. It's from his value standpoint. I just don't think the value's there in the first. I think he's kind of riding a bit of hype from being featured in that Notre Dame defense. I think there are guys better that have better traits later on. I think if you'd have put them in the same position, they would have shined just as well. So from a value standpoint, at round one, that's going to be a no for me, dog. I just can't go first round for that kind of player. And then lastly, we got Micah Parsons here. I mean, yes, he is an amazing player. He's probably a multiple-time Pro Bowler. But we really need to stop throwing around this generational talent thing. I really don't think he's a generational talent. If we can get another player like you every other year, you're not a generational talent. If I can find a player as good as you within your rookie contract, you're not a generational talent. I'm sorry. Elite, yeah, he has a chance to be elite. As long as these immaturity things turn out to be bunk, or, he has if they're true and he changes his ways, then yeah, he has a chance to be elite, but I don't think he's generational. With this whole thing, like, I think best case scenario would be for us to trade back to try to get a bunch of early picks, trade some future picks away. Possibly Jags and Jets. They got they got early seconds, they got extra seconds. Let's try to get some of those. Because the best case scenario for me would be to draft 4 linebackers in this draft. And they're all kind of early and often. So my best linebacker lineup would be Zaven in the first, Jabril in the second, Barron in the third, and Jacoby in the fifth. I think if we land those guys, then it elevates our defense to elite all-time level. I'm talking 2000 Ravens, 02 Buccaneers, legendary type defenses. I think all these guys have a great shot at working out at the next level. And I mean, if anybody can make the linebackers work out, it's Ron and Jack. So if you like the video, please like the video. You got anything to say? You want to call me an idiot or something like that? Comment down below. I got thick skin. I want to thank everybody for watching. Comment, subscribe. I'm going to be coming out with a couple more of these before the draft. I'm going to do tight end, I know. I'm going to do wide receiver. And I'm going to do corner. Then I'm going to roll together quarterback, offensive line, and some other positions you need all into one video, like safeties and such. I'm going to roll those all into one video because we kind of only need like one of those players or something like that. So, yeah, thanks for watching, and I love you guys. Take it easy. Peace.